How important are thumbnails for getting people to view your YouTube videos? To answer that question, I have a great example to share with you from one of my own channels that may surprise you. I'm Aaron Rutten, and on this channel, I'm all about helping my fellow content creators become successful in the creator economy. But on my other YouTube channel, I talk mostly about digital art. On that channel, I had created a video that was a remake of one of my most popular videos. And although it should have done very well, the video just wasn't getting very many views, even after 2 years. I thought the thumbnail was good. It had my face on it with relevant graphics and text. The title was optimized for search, but the what's wrong with the quick wait? The title was optimized for search, but the click-through rate, oh man, I have to say that a lot in this too. The title was optimized for search, but the click-through rate was lower than expected. Finally, I decided to A/B test the thumbnail with one that showed my hand instead of my face. And practically overnight, my video went from struggling to get anyone to watch it to one of my top performing videos with nearly 2 million views as of 2022. That's not to mention all of the subscribers and income I gained. Seriously, all I did was change the thumbnail. Had I not done that, I'd be missing out on so much. Something as simple as this could be holding your videos back too. And let's be clear, changing the title, the description, or just about anything else probably wouldn't have had the same impact on this video. That's how important a thumbnail is. Prior to that experience, I already knew that, but now I'm a believer. But you don't have to take my word for it. Let's dive into some of the data so you can hopefully experience this with some of your own videos. So why did changing the thumbnail help my video so much? What was wrong with the previous thumbnail? Since I can't poll everyone who didn't watch the video, I can only speculate that people did not like that I had long hair in the thumbnail. I have other video thumbnails where I have short hair that outperform thumbnails with just my hand, so I'm pretty sure it's not just my face that offends people. And this lines up with other videos from that time period that should have performed better. Perhaps I looked too much like Neil Young, so people thought they were getting Neil rolled. I see the thumbnail and the damage done. But oddly enough, if people clicked through to the video, my appearance didn't bother them enough to not watch the video. So this just shows you how assumptions and bias can create barriers for both viewers and creators. Evidently, if you want to reach a larger audience, you need to be more concerned with your hair than the content of your video. And if you want to discover really good digital art tutorials, you need to give those hippies a chance. Who knew? But there are many more variables than hair or personal appearance that can affect whether or not someone clicks on your video. I've just made an assumption about what affected my video performance, but it could be the colors I chose that caused people to click less, or even the tablet I'm holding. The point is that the thumbnail matters. A lot. So what makes a thumbnail clickable? Adding text can be beneficial to your CTR, since people often do not read the video title and description. And generally speaking, showing your face in a thumbnail is good because it helps viewers connect with you as a creator. And because the human brain is attracted to faces, those videos tend to have a higher click-through rate. If you make clear expressions with your face that relate to the emotion of the video, that helps too. Yeah, it's dumb, and I don't think all of this should be so superficial, but that's just how it works. At some point though, you have to ask yourself, what type of audience are you catering to by jumping through all of these hoops? I rely on search for people to find my evergreen content, so I can't afford to get too vague with my thumbnails or titles. And I want people to take me seriously enough to value my opinion, so I have to at least present myself somewhat professionally. What's wrong with the quick wait? Or in other words, using flashy thumbnails with clickbait titles might work well for some categories of channels, but not for most others. That's not to mention that I like being myself. If I A/B tested hairstyles, I'm sure that there would be some that perform better than the Rob Schneider from Home Alone 2, but it's not worth it for me to change who I am to get a higher CTR. If I feel like having long hair again, I will do it, whether it impacts my channel or not. So I just want to be clear that I'm not suggesting that you change who you are to get more views. YouTube needs genuine people who aren't afraid to express themselves. In the end, all of these best practices are still based on assumptions that cannot be applied generally to all of your videos. As I learned in the example I gave you, showing my face actually made my CTR lower, so the best way to know what actually works is to A/B test your thumbnails, because the data doesn't assume, it just gives you the facts. A/B testing is a method of comparing two things and seeing which performs better. In the case of YouTube thumbnails, I was able to show one thumbnail one day and then another the next. By alternating the thumbnails like this for a few weeks, I was eventually able to reach a statistically significant conclusion that the new thumbnail had a higher CTR. I did this using the TubeBuddy Legend level license, and it works well. However, you can do this manually if you like. It's a lot more work to change the thumbnail at the correct time and log all of the data though. In my case, I made enough in additional ad revenue from one single thumbnail change that I have earned a return on my TubeBuddy investment many times over. This is not a sponsored video, but you can use my affiliate link to get TubeBuddy at tubebuddy.com/Rutten. Also, I've been hearing for a few years that YouTube will eventually integrate A/B testing into YouTube, but that has yet to materialize. The only catch to A/B testing is that the video has to get enough daily views to gather enough data, so A/B testing is much more difficult to do on videos that are not already performing well to begin with. Nevertheless, it's worth it to at least optimize your top videos. After that, you should have a good idea of what thumbnail elements were working and which weren't, and you may be able to apply some of those principles to your current and future thumbnails. Whether you're an older channel that is generating enough views to optimize your videos, or a newer channel that needs to improve their overall CTR, I have some tips that you can both use. Because you need views to get more views, you should first start by assessing how much time you have been spending making thumbnails. If you have not been making custom thumbnails, start creating them for all of your current videos. If you have been making ineffective thumbnails, replace them. If you're a smaller channel with not many videos, then you can afford to remake all of your thumbnails. A larger channel like mine with over 1,000 videos would want to be more selective about which thumbnails to replace. I regularly make videos unlisted or private if they're no longer relevant, and some of my videos are really old, so they wouldn't benefit much from a new thumbnail. I happen to have a lot of experience making thumbnails, and I'm very familiar with graphic design techniques and software. But even so, I still spend a decent amount of time making and usually remaking the thumbnail until it feels optimal. I have some various tutorials I will link you to that can help you learn how to create custom thumbnails for your videos. I'll put those in the video description. Essentially, the more time you spend on your thumbnails, the better your CTR could be. Minimum effort gets a minimum CTR, maximum effort gets the highest possible CTR. Aiming for somewhere in the middle is where I would start. Even if optimizing the thumbnails for your videos doesn't get them all a million views, improving the quality of your thumbnails could increase your overall CTR, which benefits your entire channel. After optimizing your top videos, creating custom thumbnails for everything else, and committing to making better thumbnails for future videos, you could start searching for the easiest remaining videos that are worth optimizing. These are videos that are similar to mine. They ought to be getting views based on keyword research or past video performance. They have a high proportion of watch time, and they have an abnormally low CTR. You can surface these by going into your analytics and looking under Watch Time Show More, then show the last 90 days or longer so you have enough data to work with. Then sort the videos by watch time and look to see which ones have a low CTR. A good CTR is relative to several other factors like YouTube impressions, channel size, subscriber count, video age, the popularity of a topic, and more. Not all channels will have the same average CTR, and clearly not all videos will have the same CTR. Although it varies from video to video, there is going to be a maximum value for each of your videos, and you should try to reach as close to it as possible. CTR wasn't tracked for the entire duration of my channel, but on average my CTR is around 4%. More recently it's been closer to 5%. That means for every 100 people who see my thumbnail, only 5 click on it. If that feels low, an average CTR on YouTube is around 2 to 10%, so I'm not doing too bad. In fact, the wider an audience you are able to reach, the lower your CTR may be. So a low CTR is not a bad thing. It's just a benchmark you can use to improve upon. I have some videos that have a CTR as high as 100%, but those are old or unpopular videos that probably only had 1 or 2 impressions in the last 90 days. These cases are rare. There are also some videos that are unlisted and are only available for members only. These have a higher CTR because they're receiving direct traffic and are not public. Therefore, I need to also look at the number of impressions relative to the CTR. Here's a recent video that has a CTR of 8.7%, but after some time, that CTR will probably average out to something much lower as the video gets served to more people. Here's a review that has been up for at least a few years and is still getting a lot of views each month. It has a CTR of 16%. This is a good indicator of a video that has a good thumbnail and great content. If a video is already performing above average, it's probably best to leave it alone. YouTube says changing your video info doesn't hurt your search ranking, but I've had the opposite experience. So now that I know that my average is around 5%, I'll highlight a few of my own videos that I could probably optimize to get more views. This one with a CTR of 2% would be a good candidate. This video should be getting at least an average amount of clicks, but this is a recent video, so it's difficult to tell what will happen. It could have a CTR that over time might end up closer to my channel average, or it could perform better if I remove my face. The only way to know is to A/B test, but it's best to give new videos some time to average out before you try to compare any data. I'll hold off on this one for a little while longer, but not too long because it's a time-sensitive topic that may become less relevant if I wait too long. Here's a more mature video that gives a good example of that. It's getting a lot of views, but has a CTR of only 3.6%. The CTR was higher when the product was still new, but that has since decreased along with the interest in this topic. I could try to improve the CTR of this video since it's still getting enough views, but it's also worth diving into this one to show you that even without changing the thumbnail, the CTR has gone up and down over time. The interest in the topic might be determining the CTR, and changing the thumbnail might not really have any effect. Here's another video that is recent, but has had time to gather enough data. How to make an NFT of your digital art. This is a controversial topic, so it turns off a lot of people, and it's also a niche topic that a lot of people could care less about. But at the same time, cryptocurrency content is a super competitive space that generates a lot of views and revenue. So it wouldn't hurt to A/B test this one to remove my face or change my expression to see what happens. I think you get the picture. Find your average and look for videos that underperform. Then find the ones that aren't too new or too old and start with those. If you do successfully increase your CTR for a video, it may not be by much. But if you go from 2.5% to 5%, that's double the clicks. And as I showed you with my first example, that small change may prompt YouTube to give you more impressions. Because I don't know for sure, I can only speculate that surpassing my average CTR was the event that triggered the YouTube algorithm to serve my video to more people. But it also could have just been based on a CTR percentage increase, or maybe a CTR threshold. But it's probably all of the above. So don't expect that your CTR is going to go from 2% to 80%, and don't expect that many videos are even going to exceed your channel average. And that's okay. CTR is relative to how many impressions you're getting. Even though my example video only has a CTR of 5.2%, it's getting 5.2% of 22.9 million impressions. If I were getting 5% of 200 million impressions, that would be the same CTR, but way more views. But in order to send a signal to YouTube that your video is performing well to get those impressions, you need to have a good CTR. So there is a feedback loop where CTR affects impressions and impressions affect CTR, but if you can break into that loop with a good video, then it's to your advantage. If you're creating content that is proven to be valuable, then the value of that content to your viewers should be signaling to YouTube to give that video more impressions. If you're not getting impressions, then something like a poor thumbnail could be the bottleneck. If after optimizing your thumbnails you are still not getting views, then it's something else holding your videos back. In that case, you might want to A/B test your video titles, or take a look at the value you're offering to viewers and how easy it is for them to find it. But it could also be that the content you are creating is niche content that just isn't something that appeals to a wide audience to begin with. That's most of the content I create. That doesn't mean niche content isn't valuable, it just means that you'll have to find other ways to leverage it. But that's a topic for another video. And it's entirely possible that your thumbnail is already as good as it can be, and there just isn't any more room for improvement. Even if you find a thumbnail that works really well and your video breaks out like mine did, Applying that same type of thumbnail to every video isn't going to make all of your videos get a million views. Performance ultimately depends on how valuable the video is to viewers and how many people are interested in the subject, but it doesn't hurt to optimize your content so it reaches the largest audience possible. I get that all of this thumbnail stuff is not what you signed up for when you created a YouTube channel. You just want to make content and people should just watch it. I've been there myself. But that's just not the reality of making content for YouTube. You have to play by the rules to some degree to get exposure, and the rules keep changing. Sure, it can be unappealing to concern yourself with thumbnails and click-through rates, but what's worse is the feeling of wondering why people aren't watching the videos you worked so hard on. So let's take it one step at a time. Let's get your thumbnails in order, and we can work on something else when you're ready for it. If you'd like to explore some other ways of optimizing your YouTube channel, subscribe to my channel and check out some of my other tips for content creators. Thanks for watching and stay creative.